wonderful. So the recording is beginning. So hi there. Hi, Rosalyn.
Hi, Dalida.
So thank you for agreeing to do this. We talked a little bit about the topic, and then we agreed on starting the recording. So just to confirm that this session, according to ICF competencies, the session is confidential. However, we are going to place this recording and share it with people so that there is some learning and growth, and also information about coaching in general. So considering all of that, are you willing to be coached and recorded as well?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. So we will have around half an hour, and if that is okay, I will start the timer as well, just to give us some sense of when the time approaches, and I will leave 5 minutes for the closure. So the timer will go off at 25 minutes. Is that okay?
No problem.
Yeah, okay, wonderful. So I do have some general idea. What would you like to be coached on? We talked about it beforehand, but just to confirm, where would you like to be at the end of our half an hour?
Yeah, so I've been taking the coaching program with Beijing Mindfulness Academy. We just finished our second module last night. And so in order to be eligible for the ACC certification with the International Coaching Federation, I need to collect 100 coaching hours. Yeah. And so I would like to be coached on how to go about collecting these hours. And by the end of the session, I would like to feel more confident in my plan of action.
Right. So it seems you have a clear idea of where your next steps are and where your focus in your coaching development is, right? Like, and getting the 100 hours. So what have you thought so far when you're thinking about moving forward?
Yeah, I think I definitely know that it's a priority that I want to work on, that I have my work as a college counselor. I teach movement and I teach dance occasionally, and I have side projects here in Taipei. So within my existing work, I want to be able to balance and carve out time for my coaching practice. And it's these 100 hours that is maybe, it feels like more insurmountable because it's this big number of hours that I need to collect. And so maybe sometimes there's a little bit of resistance within of trying to achieve this goal. I've started collecting the hours, but maybe I want to see more progress. And I have a lot of ideas, but it's sort of about picking an approach and kind of sticking with it.
So when you're talking about wanting at the end of this session to find a little bit more ease, I'm hearing that there are different ideas and you are working. However, there's something that is not quite gelling inside. There's some resistance that is in the way. Yeah.
Yeah, I think maybe there's an ideal image of what my future might look like as a coach. Maybe I don't know if I'm still going to be working in a school, or maybe I'm going to be a complete freelancer and I can work from my home and be completely a professional coach, and I will have a website with gorgeous pictures. I will have my Instagram and my social media account, with gorgeous pictures of me, teaching somatics and stuff. And so maybe I have this image of what kind of coach I would like to be. And sometimes I think there's this resistance because, I've done little things like create a Calendly page where people can schedule things, but I sometimes think, should I be creating an Instagram, and getting all these photos of myself, creating a Facebook group, kind of putting myself out there as a coach. I feel a bit shy about that, and it takes a lot of work, you know, to get pictures and, or like, should I print a name card? There's a lot of little things that I can do. So sometimes I think I get stuck in those little steps. You know, I feel that, oh, there's so many things I could do, but it's so much. And, maybe I'll think about it later.
So a lot of possibilities, and there is this a lot of hows. Like I'm hearing, how should I do this? Should I do that? Right? Like, and it seems you have a very clear understanding of all possibilities, how you could go about it. But there's something that brings curiosity for me, and I'm wondering if you are willing to go in that direction. And the curiosity is that it seems you have a real clear idea of your future. There is a desire and place where that coach in you is really there. She's doing it. Am I kind of like guessing right?
Yeah, I think I would like to involve more coaching in my,
Yes.
in my
All
current
right.
life. It's not necessarily the ideal of being a full-time coach, but I would
Mm-hmm.
like it to be more of a flavor in my life for sure. That's definitely part of my future goals.
Right. So, like in coaching, sometimes we really go into that future to pick some wisdom and maybe step away from what is happening right now, just to help us to move through those obstacles. And if you were to go and consult that future self, really go and perhaps we can even go a little bit into inner space. Would you be willing to do that?
Sure.
Yeah?
Yeah.
All right. So let's just take a bit of moment and we'll go into a mindful state, mindful reflection. And perhaps you can just go into your somatic practice and notice what is it that you can do to just be present for a moment and let your mind gently release all those hows and shoulds and just be here. And as you're coming to the presence, you can give me a sign whenever you're ready by either nodding your head or in any other way that you would be ready to explore what is alive right now. Wonderful. So now I would ask the future version of Rosalyn if she could come forward, and that version of Rosalyn that has all the capacities and wisdom and skills already developed, the coaching skills. And I'm wondering if there is willingness for the future self to come forward and become fully present for Rosalyn. And if that is okay for the future self also to announce and let me know when she is here, either nodding the head or giving any other sign. So from now on, the future self is going to talk about herself as I and about Rosalyn as her, if that is okay. And hello, future self. Hi. So Rosalyn is just beginning to work on her journey of becoming more skilled coach, and she's really having all these questions on how to move forward, knowing that you already are there. So would you be willing to share a bit of what insights you have about Rosalyn at her current self?
there is a opening of the space. There is a ease and expansion that exists, where doing can feel effortless.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. There is a hamster wheel of the shoulds and what can happen that creates a sort of inertia, but there's a easiness and expansion that comes with sighing, that comes with, taking deep breaths. That can also lead to progress moving forward, but in a way that can feel more purposeful.
Seems there is strong connection to the purpose, huh? Would you like to share a little bit more about that? What is the purpose?
It's quite a vulnerable state, actually, to be meeting the future self. I can feel I can feel wetness in my eyes, and because I can I can visualize this figure. Can you repeat the question?
Yes, of course. So it's just knowing that there is this vulnerability and feeling touched by the presence of the future self that is so connected with ease and presence and just capacity to even sigh and give space. And just knowing that we also are recording, and if there's any time you would prefer to pause and for us to finish the recording and just continue with the session, just let me know.
Thank you.
Yeah. And also knowing that being touched by this resourcefulness is also a wonderful space that often brings tears into eyes. And that it's coming as a sign of connecting with strength rather than the weakness. Right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And what else are you noticing now that you're feeling this future self being so resourceful? What is that the question was, what is the purpose? It seems that there is clarity about the purpose.
Yeah, I think the purpose is connected to some experiences that I've had hosting, coaching sessions, the existing ones that I have had. Mostly it's been for friends and not yet for strangers. And the in-person ones have been more palpable. The effect of the in-person ones are more palpable for myself as a coach, and maybe also for the coachee. And it's this hosting of space, again, this sense of expansion of hosting a space so that possibilities can be created on their own. In the same way, when you work with somatics, the body has its own wisdom. And so, as a coach, I might be worried about, where is this going? Do I need to direct it in some sort of way? But trusting that the body has its own wisdom to not coach itself, but deliver what is needed. So maybe that's also the same approach that I would also like to take, in growing myself as a coach or collecting these hours. It's, it's not this kind of movement or this kind of movement, but a kind of expansion movement. So it's kind of about what am I doing that feels like this rather than this or this, going in circles or going in a straight line.
Right. It seems that there's really a difference. You're noticing the difference of approach. One is expansive and others are more linear or focused, right? That's what I'm sensing.
Yeah. And I think linear and focus is also needed because, scheduling needs to happen. You need to,
Yeah.
communicate with clients to find the right time. And so I think, maybe my work or daily life is kind of like that. So too much of that can feel quite overwhelming or tiring sometimes. And so it's about finding this expansive quality to work or, completing a task or growing as a coach.
Right, yeah. So I'm wondering if you would want to engage somatics a little bit, even in the wisdom of these three movements. One is expansive with hands going like this, another one is circular, and another one linear. And knowing that you would actually really like to explore how to bring more ease in accumulating these hours, knowing that all of that's what I'm getting. Is that still the direction, you think?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So if you were to explore this movement a little bit more and just let your body share the wisdom of that movement, what would come up when it comes to accumulating hours? Smile.
I think so far it's just been, when a conversation comes up and saying, maybe this is a coaching topic. Would you like to be coached on this topic? And then there's the but, there's, we're in, it's discouraged for us to turn our friends or turn, our existing connections into our coaching clients, and so, but maybe that's just one avenue of one way in which, like I was just talking with a friend this morning and he was asking me for insight on international education in Taiwan. And he was thinking about his future, whether he'd stay in Taiwan or go back to the US. And then that was like a perfect moment for me to say, oh, that sounds like a great coaching topic. This is something that I do. Would you like to be coached on this? So that felt like very good. It felt like natural.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So those are impromptu, some kind of like topics that arise in a moment and you can transition and shift into a coaching session, conversation, right? So that's one way. So that's how this movement is saying, like, what are some qualities of accumulating hours in that way with this movement? How?
Such a specific accumulating coaching. I think it's because accumulating hours is kind of that straight line, it's like, all right, 95, 92, but it feels natural, it feels spontaneous, and I'm potentially offering a tool to someone who might find it useful, without having to rely on, pictures of myself on social media, or, it's just, a kind of literally word of mouth. And maybe if other coaching sessions, if that turns into a referral, that also becomes part of the expansive quality of growing as a coach, because, it's really through word of mouth or through people who feel like they might benefit from this kind of service or this kind of experience.
Yeah, I'm sensing some playfulness and ease and then even just catching that, like the linear accumulating coaching hours, numbers, lists. That's this movement. The energy shifts, right? It's different.
Yeah. And I think I can learn to embrace those moments and not feel that they're keeping me from that they're an obstacle to accumulating hours. Of course not. offering myself as a potential, resource. But at the same time, maybe it will lead to strangers, and I think that's the goal, is really to have people I don't know and get that experience. Yeah. And so that kind of an example of that linear action is to go on Facebook groups like Taipei Ladies Facebook group or something, and just post. And I've seen friends who've done that for other practices like hypnosis practice, and say, here's my information. It's a little scary about posting your information on the World Wide Web, like anyone can contact you, but I think that's kind of a little bit of maybe it's a expensive, meditate into it and then move forward,
Right. So still looking for some integration of both, right? And I have a sense that we stepped out of the future self mode, and there is a different energy even now that we're talking about. So would you like to consult the future self on this question? Should I post on social media and this?
The future self that arrived was a very kind of personal relationship. So I'm feeling actually, yeah, I'm feeling maybe not. Yeah, I'm feeling maybe another way to consult this question. Yeah.
Yeah. What kind of way?
I'm feeling now the kind of like heat of like, oh, I just, told a mentor I don't want to go in this direction, like, like, oh, this is very, let's no, I think I feel that it's the right thing to do. I maybe the analogy I feel is, like before going into the starting race, before there's this kind of gathering of the self, or, in swing dance, before you take the first move, or in tango, before you invite the first person, there's a sort of like a gathering of the self. And so you mentioned before about integrating both movements. I think maybe that's what I'm looking to do, is maybe this, instead of, I think the circle comes from trying to burst out of the starting gate, without really a sense of what direction, so it's kind of like the horse, it's just, it doesn't really know where it's going. So it's kind of running out of circles, but maybe the horse needs to like arrive at the self, maybe communicate with the rider a little bit. And, once it's got that, it can, be released from the starting gate and, gallop purposefully in its direction.
Right. Yeah. So what would the horse communicate to the rider?
Let's breathe a bit before we go.
Right. Yes. Shall we? Let's
Yeah.
take that wisdom. Let's go into breath, and yeah, let's just come into breath and see what comes out of the pause. And I will join you as well, so you can let me know anytime when you're ready to restart. I'm just looking at the time. We will have around 2 minutes before the alarm goes off, and we have 5 minutes to finish. So let's just give ourselves space.
Mm.
So what are you taking away from the pause?
I'm taking away that pause and inertia are not the same thing.
Mm.
That pause is necessary, pause is helpful for moving forward.
Mhm. That's all. There's a lot of wisdom for me in what you just shared, so I'm really appreciating. For a moment, I just had a sense that you were coaching me, actually. Thank you. Thank you for bringing the pause and also sharing what is coming out of that. So, I mean, knowing where we started and initially there was some desire to have bring some more ease in direction and how to go about accumulating the hours or just having sharing your calling with others. I'm hearing the sense of purpose to really support people in their own direction and the way how they're going about life. So what would you like to take as the next first step from this session, knowing that it's important to practice, it's important to actually do go and accumulate hours, right?
Yeah, I think it's the felt sense, the embodied sense of how I want to grow as a coach and go about accumulating hours. And it's the same, it's this expansiveness or this rootedness in the self, that it's moving outwards rather than forwards. So I think I have a clearer sense of how I want to go about, and it's not, yes, there are specific things like posting on a Facebook, group,
Mm-hmm.
sharing my Calendly page. But I think behind that is a larger context of the felt sense of how I want to go about those specific actions. So by tapping into that felt sense, I think those specific actions will be more clear. Those concrete actions will be more clear.
Is there anything specific you could maybe do in order to bring this felt sense a little bit more into your state as you're going about action specifically?
Yeah, I think seated upright meditation is good because lying down meditation, while is very relaxing, it's sort of more closer to the inertia, let's melt away and, sleep
Right.
this off. But I think like a seated upright meditation, on the days that I do have free will be a good way for me to, begin the day with, how I want to go about, working on myself and, the things that I want to do.
Okay, wonderful. Is there any specific time or any support you might need in kind of like remembering to bring this seated meditation to specifically this topic?
Yeah, well, I have my 100-day practice and I try to do it in the mornings. So, and I might do it, I give myself the option of seated or lying down. And I'm on the days in which I want more invigoration, I might try seated. And on the days where I want more relaxation, I can try lying down.
It's wonderful to hear how connected you are with your body and how you asking your body to support you in the way you're going about this. This is really inspiring. So wonderful. This I think we are almost at the end of our agreed 30 minutes. Do you think you got what you needed from this short session?
Yes, I think I did. Thank you very much, Dalida.
All right, wonderful. So I will stop the recording then.